please.
So I'll keep it quick. My intro, I am Dr. Khushbu Pandya, not a medical doc, but a doctorate in social media and consumer behavior. And later on, I started my own company, which deals in social media marketing, communications, and it's an agency for helping brands do social media marketing effectively and efficiently. And it's been since 10 years now, and that's how we call ourselves experts in social media marketing technologies and all that stuff. And it's my honor and privilege today to host this session and moderating the session by Mr. Sauvik Banerjjee. And to just give you an intro about him, you must have read a lot about him on internet, but I'll just give a quick intro that he is the CTO of Tata Digital, and he is known as a tech futurist. And he has this abundant knowledge of 20 years of building internet platforms and internet businesses and internet technologies across 4 continents, and over 500 internet platforms launched across enterprise companies, SMEs and MSMEs, and over 100 e-commerce platforms launched across UKI, Europe, US, Southeast Asia, and built from scratch India's two most loved digital platforms, that is Reliance Jio and Tata Click, so which are purely homemade in India. And his motto is technology is junk if it doesn't impact human lives. So I welcome you, Sauvik sir, Sauvik Dada, here on this platform. And the platform is yours. Please let us know about today's topic would be all about brand tech, Martech, marketing technology, brand technology, and advertising technology, and a look towards recent trends and the futuristic view. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Khushbu. Thank you, Sanjay, for having me as part of the Brand Fest. I must say this at the onset that I do so many global conferences in technology. AdTech and Martech has always been a passion, to be honest. And in fact, a couple of years back, I was moving out of Tata Group to run a global AdTech and a Martech organization. It's that passionate to me. Technology plays a big part in today's day and age. And to all my viewers, just to say, I am not going to present a PPT. My observations are today's observations, realistic observations, what tools are getting used, what level of AI is getting used. So I will break the next, say, suppose 5 to 10 minutes in 5 parts. What is the future of advertising technologies? What is the future of what is the future of consumer experience and engagement, which uses marketing technologies? Number 3, what is the power of social media, which is primarily technologies? What is the power of social media in the next decade to come? Number 4 is very close to my heart. What's going to happen to our hoardings? What's going to happen to our front pages of newspapers? What's going to happen to Piccadilly Circus? What's going to happen to Manhattan? What's going to happen to Shibuya in Tokyo? With so much of signages out of homes, we call it OOH, out of homes, what is the future of that? How can AdTech and Martech complement? So that's my 4th topic, which is related to my last topic, is how does the future look through this? Our thumbs, our thumb architecture constitutes our lives. What we do with this thumb and what we have it on my palm, how does that complement and collaborate with marketing and AdTech technologies? Guys, could you, if you can go on mute, please? So let's start with the first one, AdTech. Today's advertising technologies have to be driven by data. What we are observing everywhere in the world is Petabytes of data is getting generated. I'll give you an example. You have average 30 apps in your smartphones. You have probably about favorite 20 odd sites on your laptop, and you probably have about, if you use a notebook or an iPad or your family has one, you use another 20 apps. But actually you have about 100 apps on your phones. Every time you swipe an app and engage with an app, or every time you read an article, every time there is a usage of a smartphone, there's a lot of data which gets generated. What does that data do? That data allows you to primarily gives you visibility in your thumb movement. Can we understand the human being through the behavior of what he or she does? Think of it this way. I use X payment platform. Example, Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, XYZ. I use the Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Tata Click, all sorts of platforms. I use a lot of consumer-based applications in communication like WhatsApp, Zoom. How much do we know about that faceless consumer? Can we create an advertising campaign without the know-how of the behavioral pattern of their mind space? Pre-internet era had the idea that personas exist based on a market survey. Example, all advertising agencies used to do that. They used to do a market survey, they used to do focus groups, and they used to figure out, if I have to sell a washing machine or if I have to sell a soap, this is what the market looks like. This is what the segment looks like. But in today's day and age, post the revolution of internet, that data, and especially in the last few years, constant mining of data is happening, even to the extent whatever is being digitized on television. Television tracks adoption data of a 10-second advert, 20-second advert, 40-second advert. YouTube, anything which is online is all trackable. And it's a good tracking. It's not unhealthy tracking. It's to track how many customers did watch that advert. That's the first principle of knowing who your customer is. Before you even create an ad tech platform or before you use an ad tech campaign driven by ad tech, is know your data. Once I know my data, primarily, if I have to launch the next example, a new car, I have to see my competition, what's in the market, what people are talking about, what they're using. What it allows me to do is, allows me to formulate the strategy of my new product or a category launch. Guys, can you go on mute, please? Thank you. What it allows me to do is track the market based on what product launch I'll do. And then you mine the data and say, okay, my next product is primarily segmented towards this persona. What's that persona could be? There could be hundreds of personas. What persona? I'm giving an illustrative example. A persona could be, I am 44-year-old. I'm a working professional with Tata Group. I'm a technologist. My wallet share is this, X. My purchase power is Y. My spend propensity is Z. Over the last few years, I would have collected that data. And now I've probably built that product. Now comes Edtech's biggest instrument during any campaign, any launch. How do you translate so much of data in social media, internet, and consumer data? It allows you to do trackable capabilities on creating personas. And then the distribution mechanics. I'll give you an example. Have you ever thought, how do you get in-app messages, in-app notifications, not SMS, not WhatsApp, in-app messaging? How does Facebook personalize so much? How does Google, if you have Google Home or Alexa, continuously hear you? And that's ethical. It's not unethical. They have been called out unethical for some other reasons. We will discuss that in a minute. How do they know that I am browsing a Bose speaker or a Boat speaker or a Skull Candy or a JBL speaker, and everywhere I go, I get an advert pop up? That's because my thumb behavior is getting tracked, and that's ethical. It's fine. People do television advertising based on personas. Now, that data can get translated into a YouTube campaign, into a television campaign, and that data can be translated into a Facebook or an Instagram campaign. Now I know what's my target audience. Rule number one in AdTech: know your data and persona, set your target audience in certain instruments. There are many AdTech platforms. Facebook themselves being an AdTech platform, Google themselves being an AdTech platform. So all these AdTech platforms have three common principles and rules engine. What are they? Create your personas, create your data segment. A segment is, personas I just explained. A segment is pin code 40001 Mumbai, Fort Colaba area, to pin code 400053 Andheri West, Lokhandwala area. These are my range of pin codes, out of which 30 pin codes I am going to target whoever has this app, whoever has geolocation and location services turned on, and I am going to SMS them if I have rich data about their phone number and email addresses. That's very, very segmented. People don't share because of data privacy, rightly so. But if they have my app or they have visited my site, I can push a campaign through Google Chrome as a web push or through an in-app message. So create your persona, create your segment, create your target audience. Now comes the tricky part in India, which US and Europe is not facing. India primarily is an Android nation. 94% are Android phone users, out of which a lot of Chinese handsets are in India who have customized Android. 6%, of course, are iPhone users and Apple users. So I have to target these guys. Even if I do a television campaign, I can't ignore 1.1 billion smartphone devices out of 1.42 billion people in India. That is a huge targeting audience. They are more than your television users. So whatever the strategy of AdTech now is, detect your persona, create your persona, step one. Create your segment, step two. Example, the pin code, and map it to the personas, male or female, age group, demographics, X, Y. Three, create your target campaign in that advertising platform. And I can't be biased towards any because there are thousands of AdTech platforms and Martech platforms. I'll come to Martech in a minute. Four, I actually physically run the campaign. I mentioned that Android analogy because if I send a message outside email and SMS, only 23% only get today's throughput in Android phones because Chinese handsets don't like. Can you please switch off your video, please? Chinese handsets don't like advertising on Google OS. So my throughput is 23%. It also comes through a server which is controlled by Facebook, which is called FCM. Now, I have to deal with only 25% of the handsets who actually get my in-app message. So my distribution mechanics of sending my message has to be Chrome, in-app, SMS, email, and how many more marketing and advertising campaign emails you do open today in your Gmails and your other mailboxes. You don't. Your target, you don't open your SMSs, you ignore your SMSs. So that is your process of ad tech. What is the future? The future of ad tech is I write, or a brand, example of brand, I'll take the brand example. X brand, which is a shoe brand, or X brand, which is a watch brand. The brand team comes in the morning, puts a post on Instagram. But that post is showcased in every airport's digital screen. That post is in every digital signage in the evenings of every town center. That post is there while you're watching the game physically in a kabaddi league or a hockey league or an IPL or an ISL. That campaign, which was created by an individual and a certain team members, did not get recreated specifically for physical out-of-homes models, means hoardings. If I have to go to Bombay Station and there is a digital signage, that campaign can get translated. So that's what the world is working towards. One campaign, one instrument, one is to many distribution of the message. A campaign is always a message, or the voice of the brand. Traditional brand gurus will tell you what's the voice of the brand. So if I have to sell a soap or if I have to sell a car, the futurism of Edtech is one campaign in real time, getting the eyeballs of many, many, many millions of people across the country. And ours is a subcontinent. It is bigger than Western Europe. So that comes the futurism of brand Edtech. What is today happening and what's the physical reality which we will see going forward. Now you will say, Souvik, what does AI play in Edtech? AI has a very strong play in Edtech. What can AI do? It can predict, it can project, it can forecast, and it can recommend. What does that mean? Predict, project, forecast, recommend. And very importantly, we all AI ethical usage experts, AI experts, whatever we are saying is, it has to be prudent. It has to be wise. You can't bombard a human being with 20 messages from the same brand. You can't bombard the human being with 20 insurance messages if your car is up for renewal for insurance. You can't bombard. Bombarding leads to uninstalls, leads to drop-offs in a website, leads to a page of the front page of a major newspaper being turned without even having a look. So we have to have a cognitive way where AI tells you what is the right moment to engage. What is the right thing to recommend? So the future of Edtech is recommendations like DeepMind in YouTube does. YouTube's recommendations are not fluke. It's built on a very powerful AI called DeepMind. What if DeepMind becomes as powerful as the ability to work accordingly with many major brands? Guys, can you switch off your video, please? Because thank you. That allows you to happen. AI will allow you to predict and recommend, like a Spotify creates your own playlist based on the songs you've heard. AI will allow the advertising campaigns, many advertising campaigns in the quarter, example, Jan, Feb, March, based on the adoption of that campaign, based on the transactions that campaign has generated, AI will recommend you what kind of campaigns you should build. AI will recommend you what kind of advertising a brand should make. Instagram is full of AI algorithms. Facebook, you see the whole bubble you live in Facebook is full of AI algorithms. That's the power of AI. I mean, the downsides are there, but let's talk about the power of AI, what it can do. It can give you wise recommendations. It can give you wise projections. It can give you great forecasting on your churn. Example, I run this campaign based on which I have data of today. How much revenue will I have? How many people will actually go to the store? How many people will actually come to my .com? How many people will actually download my app? How many people will transact on my POS system and my EDC machine in a store? One ad campaign today has the power to know these projections based by AI, based on the neural modeling which is happening. And there's a lot of ad tech platforms which are trying to do. So that's the immediate future of ad tech. Now let's come to Martech. Marketing technologies has been now there for a while. The futurism of Martech is, how do I see brand adoption? What's the engagement? So customer service, NPS, CSAT are very old mindsets of scoring, which marketeers have started to put a backseat. Amazon invented something beautiful. Amazon invented Customer Obsession Index, COI. What does that mean? That means a perfect order. What does a perfect order mean? In the world of Jeff Bezos and Jeff Wilco and Werner Vogels, the world of Customer Obsession Index is the crux to their marketing campaigns. They say any marketing campaign, and that has been now imbibed by anybody and everybody in brick and mortar industry, in retail, in healthcare, in consumer facing industries, and the .com and the app world. They say a perfect order means a customer puts the order within 4 to 5 minutes on my .com or an app without a single intervention by the customer service or the operations or logistics and supply chain team. The order gets delivered on time or before time. Post the order is delivered, the customer service and experience agent do not see any ranting on social media or any cribbing on social media. And to close the cycle, the customer actually selflessly, in a self-service mode, goes and rates the product and the app. That's called a perfect order. The more perfect orders a marketing team's responsibility is, they can see more perfect orders, they can create more campaigns around that. They can create more marketing capabilities around it. Now let me come to the technology part of marketing. As I said to you, in AdTech, there is persona, segmentation, targeting, throughput, and physical distribution of the campaign. Marketing goes on today's day and age exhaustively on data. They have taken it to a next level because they have to create a marketing spasm. They have to create a marketing viral. They have to create a marketing cocoon for people to get hooked onto. You know, why did the Google reunion advert viral so much? Why did Mr. and Mrs. Murthy viral so much in Voltas? Why do some marketing works wonders and why do some marketing just dips? It's based on how much of research you've done in understanding your customer and the customer behavior. Customer behavior understanding is very important. Sauvik goes to a restaurant to eat Chinese food. Sauvik also goes and has a coffee in Starbucks. Sauvik can also go to Chroma and buy an electronics. Sauvik can also go and buy something in West Side, and Sauvik can also go and fly Vistara. Now think of it this way. Sauvik actually, if you think of it, all these guys, if I combine Sauvik's profile, Sauvik has a giga profile. I can completely personalize a marketing campaign based on Sauvik's behavior in a store of what he has bought to what his behavioral pattern online is. So marketing's tools are primarily consolidating the beauty of what everybody aspired for the last 30 years is personalized experience. The future of marketing technologies is built on personalization. It's my personal point of view, and a lot of people share this. Personalized experience is not easy for a marketeer. How can you personalize experiences for millions of people? Again, it will come back to the same rule. Based on data, I have to create my segments. So the common part between an AdTech and a Martech platform is segment creation. Second, do I do a qualitative and a quantitative survey in today's day and age? Absolutely. Only that you've got much more tools to mine the data. Data-driven marketing is proving to be significantly impactful. I'll show you a reason why. It's happening in front of you. When we were in COVID times, did you see how much of usage of Zoom was happening? What did Zoom do? Apart from the negativity and the issue on data breach, ignore all of that shebang for the time being. Zoom was existing before. Data breaches are no wonder. Data breaches will keep on happening. Data breach has got nothing to do with Zoom being questioned or Microsoft Teams or example, Cisco WebEx. These are always going to be there or were there. What did Zoom do? Zoom opened it up and made it completely free because they saw the adoption happening. Look at the valuation of Zoom before COVID and look at the valuation of Zoom post-COVID. Their marketing team said, this is an opportunity. So today's marketeers look at data and say, what is tomorrow's my marketing strategy? What is my strategy for day after tomorrow? So today's marketing is not based on 3 months. Today's marketing is based on a week. The reason why the good old out-of-homes hoarding and newspapers have taken a backseat. See how many, you should observe this. If you drive down in Mumbai or if you drive down in Hyderabad and Chennai, how many OTT contents are on the hoardings? Your OTT is on your palms, but you're looking at it in front of your eyes. Your Mandalorian is also getting projected. Your Patal Lok is also getting projected. And so is Lakshmi Bomb also getting projected. And so is Scam getting projected. So Zoom did exactly that. Zoom followed the behavioral pattern of India and everywhere where it was getting adopted. The marketing teams kept on giving Zoom campaigns free to schools. Enterprise Zoom licenses were brought down. That's immediate, in front of you, it has happened. Look at what the used car industry did during COVID. And the future is going ahead. They completely changed. So used car industries like Car Dekho, Mahindra First Choice, Car Wale, people who were fence sitters, and as soon as the lockdown started to open and the green zone started to grow more, people who were fence sitters who didn't want to take public transport but can't afford a new car, the marketeers of these companies started to promote the capabilities everywhere. Organic adoption happened because the behavioral pattern of the customer changed. So marketeers in these organizations, the used car sales has gone off the roof in India. That industry never existed almost in literal sense before COVID. So marketing technologies are primarily going beyond your .com and apps. Marketing technologies are now primarily is driven by strategy based on data, what they're seeing. Now let me come to the last part before I let Khushbu and Sanjay have some questions. Is the third part is what is the future of hoardings and what is the future of newspapers? They're going to be there. But what you will see is a physical change in the form and shape, which has already happened in the West. The telegraph has got more adoption on your phones and your tablets than it has got a physical circulation. They brought down the physical circulation, revenue never got hit. What is the future of physical hoarding? The physical hoardings are moving into a digital signage. The reason being, how can you track a hoarding, whether it's getting watched or not, 300 kilometers inside Tiruchirappalli or Shiliguri, in the mountains of Darjeeling? How much remembrance and recall factor do you have in a hoarding? Zilch. People don't look at hoardings anymore, unless and until that has got a reflection on their smartphone. That brand is persistent on YouTube or on their commerce platforms or on payment platforms. The synergistic issue is your eyes are on this much more than eyes are looking at hoardings. Your peripheral vision when you're in a car or a train or a bus looks at your phone more than it looks at your peripheral vision in the hoardings. Unless there is a synergy. You're seeing that campaign on your phone and you're seeing that campaign on your hoarding. But what digital signage does is that the messaging part, what you do, it's controlled by a central server, which gets allowed. So whether you promote that platform on affiliate sites and you can showcase it on the digital signage. US has just taken the mantle. Japan is kind of moving into that. Japan was always going to make it happen because it's a smaller country. They are completely non-hoarding focused as we speak. But India has also started to think. If you go to any of the airports, you will see a lot of digital signage is changing. So events where the brand used to push their brand on doing very many things, those events are happening virtually. If a brand fest can happen by Sanjay and the team pulling this off with great content and wonderful speakers, and all the students are hurdling. What if this brand fest in person can happen and gets projected across the world in real time without any disruption? So that's immediate content evangelization in an instant mode. So I think physical hoarding, the out of homes world, will have a revolution in the next 10 years, specifically in the 20 odd large cities of India. Tier 1 will start adopting. So those are the ad tech futurism of ad tech. Those are the futurism of data-driven marketing technologies, which is in play, and the out-of-homes hoarding and newspapers digitization. Though I still think India loves physical. We still love going to the malls, and we still love reading our newspapers. It will not go away. It will just that it is next to impossible to control a country with 1.1 billion smartphone devices on the 3rd of January, which will become 1.4 billion smartphone devices. As many people live in the country will have as many smartphones, maybe a little lesser if you take the youngsters away. So the challenge we have is, how do we control so much data? And for that, we'll have a separate conversation. So that's where we are, Khushbu. Over to you and Sanjay to ask me anything.
Yeah, Khushbu.
Thank you so much, Dada, for giving wonderful insights into all these things. We have few questions from here, which I would like to take up.
Sure.
Ginsi has asked, how do you identify consumer insights on digital platforms? And how can we make agriculture marketing effective with Edtech?
So consumer insights primarily is, let me tell you what currently happens. If you have a newspaper campaign, they will tell you that this is your reach. These are the number of households. These are the number of pin codes this campaign can go to. There is no physical tracking. How can you physically track a newspaper, whether my mom has read it and I have read it and my wife has read it? But immediately, if that campaign runs on an app or a digital platform, we have got the world of clickstream analytics. We've got Google Professional, we have got Google Analytics, we've got Adobe Analytics, we've got very many analytics platforms. Every thumb finger movement is tracked. Whether I explore a product, whether I explore a news article, whether I have done payments through Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, what sort of things do I reward? What do I do in cred? What do I use payback for? What do I use my Vistara points? How many clicks? To the level that what is the time spent between one click and one other click is measured. As a result, all this analytics is called clickstream data. This is primarily clickstream data is going to become, for a logged in user or a non-logged in user, clickstream data is going to now have social clickstream. It is going to have out of homes clickstream. It is also going to have, if that campaign has run on any digital mode, it will have that clickstream. So what's the article which got read? Did the editor's pick get read, or did a news flash from Reuters get read? So the marriage of that data happens within the analytics team. Once the marriage happens, then consumer insights are starting to form. What is the insight based on the clickstream data? We are starting to see, okay, I do not want to promote the rewards and recognition on the first fold. The average dwell time spent by a user on reading a newspaper in the morning is 9 minutes. Whereas he or she spends 6.5 minutes on Myntra, or he or she spends 5.5 minutes on Tata Click, or he or she spends looking at the digital signage, and he's browsing away on his tablet, he's spending. So a cumulative 18 minutes he spent in the morning before he headed for the office. That tells me what he saw, what he read, how he paid, what he browse explored, and what are the search keywords he gave within those 18 minutes. That's the consumer insight we can say as we speak. The beauty is to marry the physical ability and the digital ability. Some companies have done it, like Walmart, like in our country, Tata Group is trying to do it. Reliance Organ Industries is trying to do it. Amazon is trying to do it. See, Amazon doesn't have a physical presence, which is a big disadvantage to them. But people like the Reliance Industries, Tata Group, Mahindra's, we have a huge physical presence and a .com presence. So the advantage with us is we've got 4,000 stores and we've got 2.4 million POS systems with dealers and distributors. So then we are in the journey to marry the offline and online experience to understand the consumer insights. Early days, but tremendous amount of mining will happen in the next 10 years. That's what would be my response, Kushbu.
Right, right. We have another question from Swarnim University, is that for budding entrepreneurs where finance budget is restricted and brand is yet to get established, which are the effective campaigns to reach to target audience and smart ways with less cost to build the brand? From Deep
Forget
Mehta.
building the brand. Forget building the brand when you are a 5-member, 10-member, 15-member, 20-member startup. Brand comes later. Product comes first. What is the germ of marketing and advertising? Is to sell the product. Is to sell a service. You have to focus on building the product or a service business first. You have to build a business, whether you build the next Byju's or whether you build the next Flipkart or whether you build the next Payback or whether you build the next Cred or whether you build the next Chumbak or Lenskart. The brand came much later.
Yes.
A brand can happen if your product is strong, if your services are strong. Taj became a global brand and champions the brand. They call it Tajness now. It happened overnight. They created experience in such a way that you go into a Taj and you see, like, one of my bucket list is made. For a middle-class Indian, if you walk into Taj, it intimidates the wowness. That got done first. Yes. Then organically Taj as a brand came up. You go into a SpiceJet, and I don't want to say biased. You go into any SpiceJet, go Indigo, and then you suddenly fly Vistara.
Yes.
The experience, I am biased anyway. I work for the Tata Group. But the experience is far better. As a result, Vistara's brand gets viral. Why, in today's day and age, we aspire to go to Starbucks? It's a 30-year-old organization now. It's again a part of us in India. Why do we need to? The coffee is so good. The services are so good. The food in Starbucks is so good that brand organically viral. If the coffee was horrendous, the brand will have an erosion. Brand erosion is a scarcity with every advertiser or a marketeer. The product and services has to be good. So for the early days, focus on products and services and champion that. Brand organically will happen. And to keep it low cost, start with basic social media and organic ranking for search engines, and not only Google. People live the world beyond Google as well, but do Google. Slowly establish. Also, don't forget, India is a very high optical fiber driven country in the coming years. So use the power of social media, use the power of putting flyers across. The good old campaigns, because Indians are on the road rather than on their devices looking at it. Your purchase power of the middle-class Indian actually is out and about. He's not cocooned in front of a machine all the time. So those would be my guidance. But the product and services has to be so good that brand can be built on that.
Right, right. One more question from Prasoon Banerjee is that there is still a huge market which is yet to be penetrated. The people who do not have access to smartphones or aren't tech savvy, but have purchasing powers. So how can we tap into that segment? And
so I think that data is incorrect. 29% of the farmers are wealthier than and have got more smartphones than average people living in the tier ones. There is that thinking is incorrect. India's problem is not that. India's problem is not a smartphone. India's problem is penetration of the broadband into the 900 towns and 10,000 villages. Let's be honest. India is a huge subcontinent. India actually is bigger than Western Europe. Almost a little bit of Russia comes into it. If you physically see the breadth and size, breadth and width of the country, it is not easy to put broadband penetration of 4G speeds and 50 MB and 100 MB is what we enjoy in large metro towns. It's not possible because optical fiber has to get laid, towers have to get laid, radio frequency has to get tested. And I think Jio has done wonderfully well in building those 400 million consumers beyond the cities. That is the crux. A smartphone is of no use. I went to Ladakh a few weeks back. A smartphone is of no usage in the mountains because there is no network, because there is no tower. There is no physical optical fiber, and optical fiber is underneath the soil. So the challenge is, though we have smartphone users, only India's internet user base is 650 million, though it's 1.1 billion. So the paradox is the physical internet pipe has to get laid down across the country. The towers which broadcast radio frequency from telecoms, whether it's Vodafone Idea or Airtel or BSNL or Jio, it has to still have radio frequency. So the challenge is not reaching that nth million. India is still 650 million, and thanks to COVID, it has jumped from 500 odd. The beauty is the sooner we lay our broadband penetration, which is Connect India's program, it is a little delayed, but it will happen organically. The quicker if you see Internet Sathi, which is there in 2.5 crore women are using Internet Sathi across villages and getting up to date. It's a Google Tata Group initiative. The challenge is that if broadband penetrates in the next 5 years across India, your consumer usage will get, your agri-tech will work. Because half of the interior villages where the farmer is not dying of farmer suicides, it's pretty wealthy. That farmer also needs to have access for crop remedy platforms. That farmer needs to save his crop. And for that, he needs to have know-how. But the know-how doesn't come because he still have old 2G, because there is no physical tower. I could say this because I was one of the core architects which built Reliance Jio. So that is where the challenge is. India's infrastructural growth is going to become exponential after COVID because we have resisted tremendous amount of bandwidth pressure during COVID. And they've come out flying high, all the telecoms, to be honest. I mean, we had few minutes of disruptions here and there in the months, everywhere in the country, everybody used. So I think that is the crux to it. The challenge is the broadband penetration is dependent on physical infrastructure by the states. It's happening. It's not that it's not happening. It's going to accelerate after COVID far more.
Right. Yet another question is that what is apt for a digital advertising in current scenario, graphical image ad or a video ad?
Video ad, but in less timelines. So if you are going to do a QVC equivalent, which people are taking that, the 3-minute timeline, that works. But primarily people's patience levels are so low, anything which is 30 or 40 seconds in the good old marketing and ad tech space, in the television mind space, has to get replicated. You question yourself in this question, why does Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook videos got so much of adoption? They're not minutes, they're not IGTV.
Yes.
Absolutely. So they are 20-second, 30-second ones. The engagement part is the crux to it. It's just not always food and pets, and it's not always high-end gamification and gizmos and gimmicks. If the content is good, people will watch. If the content has a decent narrative, that's why it's a storytelling medium, the world of internet is. If the narrative is strong in a 40-second advert, it will viral. If the content, now of course video, images play a big part, but I would say with data, if images was to reign the world, where is Pinterest today? Instagram, that has taken over. Pinterest was Pinterest was the #1 when it came through. It has taken a backseat. Image-driven content is as important if the narrative is right, but video-driven content will play because the video platforms have taken adoption globally across, and we can see the likes of what is happening right now. But it has to be meaningful. There has to be a story, or else people will move on to the next one.
Yes. I have my personal question,
Sure.
which I wanted to ask, is that what major skills should every marketer or even marketing fresher coming fresh out of MBA school should be equipped with in such a technological advanced environment? Because they are not technicals, they are marketing people. So, and we
So
are talking.
Khushbu, I have a very strong opinion about this. And if you Google all the TEDx speakers, all the world CEOs, in 20 years, you don't have to write code, but you have to drag and drop. Some way or the other, everybody has to understand data modeling. It's as simple as that. If a marketeer doesn't understand what a data modeling is, he doesn't have to write code. In today's day and age, nobody writes code. My 9-year-old builds apps and deploys it. So they've got the world of Unity, they've got the world of G-Develop, they've got the world of Scratch. A marketeer has to know the data mining and data modeling. Because today, how can you be a marketeer if you don't know data segmentation, data modeling, and what is the psychographic behavior of 200 million customers living in the southern part of India or the northeastern part of India? How would you market anything to them? And nobody's going to give it to you in a platter like the old days. You know your data, you segment your data. As I say, the rule of 5 always has to be prevalent. Physical data, yes, focus group physically has to be done, but ultimately that data has to be understood. So to understand data, you have to learn mining of data, data modeling. You don't have to learn coding skills because you only have to learn tools which allow you to do that. And number 2, which is extremely important, is using the understanding of AI tools. The reason being is AI will become like electricity in our lives. If you don't, for a marketeer, for an electrical engineer, for an advertiser, for an advertising agencies, you have to learn how recommendation and prediction. You just can't think like a finger up in the air and on a gut that, oh, this campaign will work, or this advertising storyline will work. No, it doesn't work today's day and age. People are used to exploration, disruption, and it's not easy to understand the mind space of a guy who is living 10 meters away from you, how he or she is thinking. So it has to be data driven. So understand the tools of what AI has to offer in the space of Edtech, Martech, and campaign technologies. Understand how, basic principles is if you learn how Facebook, Instagram, Google segmentation, targeting, and marketing works, it's a good step to know. You cannot depend on an agency because agencies, guys, will learn much more. They will have 30 odd clients to deliver. You have to know your own stuff of what to tell agencies and take the feedback accordingly. And lastly, I think certain amount of skills are required in terms of storytelling and narrative. You all are doing everything during the day in a storytelling and narrative in your palms. That has to get projected for the brands as well. And it's your creative thinking. God has given us 2 sides of the brain. One is a creative side, one is a logical thinking side. You cannot always be a logical thinker and say that the creativity, I will leave it to the agencies. Now everything is in your hand. God has given you Canva. Guy Kawasaki has given it to you. You use Canva to the exhaustiveness of whatever you want to do. You can build your narratives and stories with so many tools like Canva. So storytelling using tools is essentially going to be very important for brands going forward.
True. We'll take last 2 questions. How do we use EdTech in export marketing? And someone had also asked it, how to use it in agri marketing. So export marketing and agriculture marketing, and how to get target customers in other countries through this technology.
Firstly, last question, you will not get, primarily because data bordering is happening. You cannot target somebody who lives in California or who lives in London. You can only in a broad and marketing space. You cannot physically target that consumer base because data localization is already started. GDPR has already restricted European countries from getting data access to anybody. And India is coming up with the PDPB bill. It's going to get stricter and stricter. So you cannot. So that aspiration has to be dumbed down. There will be instruments if you want to buy a property in England, or if you want to project a export capability of an Indian product like Indian luxury or Indian earthen potware, that can be exported, but that has to be exported through people who ideally are getting the license to do it. Example, marketplaces, online marketplaces, where they have the license to basically allow people to buy. So that is going to get tougher and tougher, and people are going to deal with it accordingly. Agri-tech marketing is not a B2C marketing. Agri-tech marketing has to go through panchayats. Panchayats have to give you the capability to reach out to them. It has happened in the past. Not Not every village of India is suffering from farmer suicide. That norm has to stop, because marketeers do market crops, crop remedies, fertilizers, ability to handle even farm bots in certain places where they are exploring new age technologies, where the next generation has gone and studied engineering and completed their MBA and are still farmers. And the last part is, how do you market the service part of farmers in agriculture? Because it's just not the crops, it's the services part of the farmers, where the crop is moving from one location to the other, the storage is happening. How do you market the story of the farmers? Because not everybody is sowing seeds and yielding paddies. So you have to understand that agriculture is an industry which is segmented into various driven crops and vegetables. What is your target products and services ability? I would suggest you go through the B2B route. The digitized panchayats will open their arms for you. If the digitized panchayats are not, see the government portal GEM, the government's e-marketplace portal, utilize them, enlist yourselves, and then build your own marketing story accordingly. So that's that I would leave it to the marketeers. You have to go to the panchayats because they control the governance of every village.
Right.
And the third one was agri-tech. I said exports. Oh, the exports part.
Export marketing, yes.
AdTech for exports. AdTech for exports has not happened. You still have to go through the listing route capability, because advertising in exports has a Chamber of Commerce angle, has a government angle, has a licensing angle. You can't do B2B in advertising marketing as of today. You can create a campaign. You still have to, it's very native. Nobody is working on it. Only a handful. It still goes through trade shows. It still goes through international trade shows. It still goes through international policy bodies. But I think there will be a pool of B2B marketeers, which we have seen happening. Examples, the India Marts of the world have tried. In the Western world, it is starting to show up. There will be a collaboration of countries which have bilateral treaty agreements. That's the pipe where you can move. You cannot do it just thinking that I can target Western Europe and North America. That's the foolish mindset. You target countries which has bilateral agreements with India. Examples, some African countries, some Southeast Asian countries. Don't target Western European American countries, because that part AdTech doesn't work in B2B.
Right. Sanjay sir, do we have time to take more questions, or
Yeah,
would
Sauvik,
you like...
will you be comfortable taking a few more questions, one or two?
I'm fine. I'm fine, Sanjay.
Khushbu, please.
Thank you so much. So we have a question from Deven. He's asking, what is the role of blockchain for marketers and how to understand it?
How many blockchain platforms in India has picked up is my first question. How many blockchain platforms in the world has picked up? If I just take away Bitcoin and Ethereum, is it worth it? Because they have their own demand. Blockchain doesn't require AdTech, because blockchain technologies use cases are very, very many. Logistics and supply chain of complete transparency of invoices is one use case, which is high adoption. The second blockchain capabilities, which is having adoption, is distributed ledger and accounting in the healthcare space, where you can go all the way back and navigate and see what happened. The third part of mining blockchain, if it comes to cryptocurrency, you don't need to market it. It's organically getting marketed. It's an unregulated market. Blockchain as a technology, blockchain, you cannot have, blockchain is not e-commerce. And e-commerce also, which are you marketing? Amazon has their own marketing. Blockchain is a horizontal. Blockchain is not a vertical. You have to understand blockchain is a framework in technology. It's like asking the question, do I need to know whether Android supports in-app messaging? The question is very odd, because Android does support in-app. Blockchain has its own organic marketing. So blockchain is a framework. Don't mix. Blockchain has got about 15 odd technology use cases. Blockchain all depends. If it's crypto, no need to. They have got organic marketing capabilities. They're unregulated, and their valuation is overshooting the roof. But blockchain as a technology architecture framework is basically ensuring it does what it does. Example, Robinhood. If you look out Robinhood, what Robinhood is doing in the Valley is primarily distributed finances and microfinances across everybody. So based on what the brand and the business is building on blockchain is very key. Then you can market it accordingly. But blockchain is a question. If you just say blockchain, how can I market blockchain? What is your use case for blockchain is my question. So break down what the business you're building on blockchain technologies. Then you will know what to market.
Right. Another question is how to promote and attract customers for invested co-working space startup, especially looking towards present situation. Co-working space startup, I guess.
Co-working space, how to promote?
Attract customers for co-working space startup.
Not a good time. Not a good time at all. WeWork, if an organization like WeWork is shutting down, means understand the signals. There are times where you hold on to your money. You might rent it out if you've got a co-working space. People are not moving out of their houses for crying out loud and waiting for the vaccine. Why do you want to do anything right now? Right now, be patient, hold on to your funds. If you can rent out your co-working space at a cheaper price, let it go. Get the money in to generate revenue. Don't expect anything right now till the world is vaccinated, and it will take, the whole world will take about a year to get vaccinated. Once again, physical proximity starts and the social distancing norm stops, then people will start coming out of their cocoon zone. But a portion of the world will always work from home because we have proved productivity is not getting impacted. Co-working spaces industries got badly affected. It is like hotels. We got badly affected. It's like airlines. Hold on to your money. Promote it at a price expected much lesser. Take a hit on your margin. Survive for the next 1 year. Time will come when co-working spaces, what was happening pre-COVID, will come. At that time, don't jack up your prices. Promote it on a seat-by-seat basis and compete with anybody and everybody. Don't give it out your discount and if you need to, then always look for asks and industries which are call center based, which are services based, where you can make it happen, or educational tech based. If some 20 students can come and start engaging from there, not the corporates, because corporate will keep very close to their arms of how they will operate. So co-working spaces, my suggestion is don't promote. Just let it go, loosen up your margin, and let it go on a seat-by-seat basis. Till world comes to a normalcy where social distancing will get ironed out.
Yeah.
Right. Sanjay sir, do you have any?
No, I've got goosebumps, by the energy, by the passion Sauvik has for the subject. And, it is a very enlightening session which we had. And I'm glad that a lot of people being here are startups and, they're getting a lot of knowledge out of it. And on behalf of BrandFest, I once again thank you, Sauvik, for coming out with sparing some time for us. And it was wonderful having you. And, I can't stop, listening to you. But, time is a constraint, and we take a promise from you that we'll keep having you in our forums again and again, because the technology is evolving, technology is changing. What we are talking today may be something different what we talk after 3 months. So we'll keep ourselves updated by your experience, by your sharing your experience. And I thank Khushbu also for being in the subject matter, handling the situation and handling the session so well and very gracefully. Thank you, everyone. And before we leave, there's a ritual of having a group photo. So I would request all the participants to switch on their video mode so that we can have a very good photograph.
Hey, Sanjay, while everybody is switching on their video mode, I would just like to thank Khushbu and yourself for making my Sunday evening so insightful and having such a rich palette of conversation and questions from everyone. Thoroughly enjoyed. You made my Sunday evening genuinely very interesting.
Pleasure is ours, sir. Yeah, everyone, GLS, Jaideep, Mitesh. Can you switch on your video? Yeah, thank you. Jaideep, Maya, Parik. Yeah, please. So we are all there. Jiris, Arun, done? Yeah, done. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And this was the last session which we had in the brand fest, and you left us with a lot of learnings and a lot of points to ponder in the coming days. So now the last event in the evening is the quiz, which is on business and brand quiz. All the audience sitting here are open to participate. It is going to be on www.facebook.com/quizmate page. So quizmate is QKWIZMATE. So you be there at 6:30, around 6:30. We'll start the quiz at 7 o'clock. Okay, thank you for being there. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Savik, thank you
everyone.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Khushbu. Thank you.
Bye bye.